Hello everyone, welcome to the Daily Wrap. We're a little bit late with yesterday's Daily Wrap. It was a bit of a busy day. We were in different parts of the country for most of it. It was a heck of a day, in fact. There's lots to catch up on, but first, the Wallabies are playing Georgia tonight. It's one of the games that isn't cancelled, and we'll bring you more information about that tonight. But Beth, there were some late changes to the Wallabies teams. What are they?
Yeah, just when we thought that the team might be a little bit straightforward this week, a couple of changes at captain's run yesterday. So Michael Hooper off the bench with a bit of body soreness, that's what the Wallabies are saying, and also Adam Coleman out of the 23. So Rob Simmons will come in for Coleman and likely to play his 100th test, which is, a little bit of nice news for the Wallabies. And then Lukan Salakaia-Loto coming onto the bench for Hooper. So those two changes, but everything else, pretty straightforward, and the Wallabies were saying yesterday that all they're focused on is Georgia and, not about the swirling storm that is, picking up some pace around them. Yeah,
the Typhoon Hagibis has really created news. Yesterday you will have caught up with the news that the impending arrival of Typhoon Hagibis, it's a very large typhoon, it's going to cause a lot of damage, has forced World Cup organisers to cancel several matches. England and France on Saturday night in Yokohama has been cancelled. New Zealand versus Italy in Toyota City has been cancelled. England and France had already gone through, but Italy had a chance, Beth, to make the finals, didn't they? And that's been now taken away from them.
Yeah, they weren't very happy, the Italians, and absolutely they had a right to get a little bit angry about this. If they had pulled off an upset, no matter how unlikely people might think that it would have been, if they'd beaten New Zealand, they would have taken the All Blacks spot and qualified for those quarterfinals. So they have every right to feel aggrieved that they've kind of been robbed of the chance of making the knockout stages.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there. The World Rugby have talked about that they have robust contingency plans in the event of natural disasters, and look, that's what we're looking at. I think it's worth putting into perspective that Typhoon Hagibis that is due to hit the Honshu region, the Kanto region of Honshu, which is basically the Tokyo, Yokohama areas, on Saturday afternoon. It is 3 times the size, they're saying, of Typhoon Faxai, which hit a month ago and caused over $500 million worth of Australian dollars worth of damage. Killed 3 people and caused absolute chaos and traffic gridlock and transport shutdowns and all that sort of thing. So this is not a small event that is about to occur, and I think that we're going to see more in the next day or two about exactly how serious this situation is. As you can see with Beth's hair, the
already feeling the start of the storm.
The outer tendrils have already started to hit. We're here in the Shizuoka region, so as we were saying earlier, Australia's game won't be impacted. The storm's due to hit tomorrow. But Beth, World Rugby's handling of this, there are, there is sympathy, I guess, for the fact that they are trying to put player safety first, fan safety first in particular, and they spoke about the fact that trying to move these games is going to be difficult. A lot of people are saying, why can't we move these games? And of course, I suppose we should mention as well that the all-important Japan-Scotland game, which is likely to be the winner of which would go through to the quarter-final, right? That is in real peril of being called off as well. That's being played on Sunday night at Yokohama, and organisers have said they're going to do an inspection on Sunday if it is safe to play that game. The storm will have passed by then, most likely, but there's an expectation that the city will be in a fair bit of damage recovery mode. So again, that safety element. So there are a lot of people saying, Beth, why didn't World Rugby relocate these games? Why can't they move them to parts of the country where the storm hasn't been affected? What was the considerations there for World Rugby?
I think they're just, first of all, a lot of moving parts. As you mentioned, getting teams to different parts of the country, is complicated when you only have a certain number of hotels that can accommodate for this size of people at a short notice and that sort of thing. And also the movement of fans, so having to reallocate tickets or play games behind closed doors. I think there was definitely an element of them not wanting fans to be encouraged to leave anywhere inside on Saturday, as you mentioned about the damage of the storm and that sort of thing. But also I think earlier this week the chart of the storm, the course of the storm, wasn't on track to be hitting Tokyo. So they actually, did everything they could to try and keep these games on and keep everything as consistent and, as reliable as possible. But I think on Tuesday or Wednesday they started to see, I think that's what World Rugby spoke about yesterday when they addressed the media about these cancellations, is that the Storm changed its course, and suddenly you have 2 days or 3 days to decide whether you're going to call off a match that could decide a quarter-final, and or move it or make that call. And they decided that the safest thing was to make sure that these games, that everyone was safe, I should say, and that players and fans and everyone involved was protected.
Yep, and I think the fan safety is a big element that is getting missed. I think that whatever decisions you make about playing games elsewhere and so on and so forth, fans are going to be moving around the city, and as you say, the recommendation is firmly to keep inside on Saturday. This is not mucking around. The equivalent is a grade 5 hurricane, so it's a serious matter. People have also questioned World Rugby, why have you held the World Cup in Japan? It's typhoon season. This is the 19th typhoon to hit. It's set to be the biggest storm to hit Japan this year. But World Rugby's decision to host the World Cup in Japan at this time of year, Beth, I think that there's just an element of a hell of a lot of bad luck, like you say. The storm wasn't due to actually come into this region. It escalated in size during the week. I think there was a fair bit of finger crossing from World Rugby during the week that it would just not impact at all, which may have left them caught short in terms of relocation. But overall, just a lot of bad luck in terms of a typhoon hitting right now in the middle of the World Cup, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anyone would have predicted a storm of this scale. I mean, you mentioned Typhoon Faxai at the start of the tournament, or just before the tournament started, caused a couple of days of disruptions and that sort of thing, but everything was kind of back to normal relatively quickly. And I think, this is a kind of an unprecedented storm this year, and the course has changed, and it's, in this case, everything that could possibly have gone wrong has gone wrong from World Rugby's perspective, and probably from, the Japanese public's perspective, who are sitting at home and watching the Japanese bomb, and monitoring the radars.
Yeah. I did read today that it is very rare for a typhoon to strike this late. It's even rarer for it to be this size, and it's even rarer for it to, impact the major metropolis of Tokyo. So there's a whole bunch of things that have gone wrong right at the wrong time, pardon me. Scotland, you mentioned Italy. Scotland, who look like potentially being the unlucky losers out of this, again, poor old Scotland, if they don't get to play that match, they will go home because they haven't qualified. They're pretty upset about it. They still want World Rugby to investigate playing a day after, for example, but World Rugby have said, look, if we can't do the contingency plans fairly for everyone, we won't do it at all. So they're in the gun for a cancellation, really, aren't they?
Yeah, well, Gregor Townsend spoke yesterday, and he was very adamant that this game was not going to be cancelled and it would be played on Sunday, and Scotland have been very firm about that because, they've got a quarter-final spot riding on this game, and we all know 2015 they got to the quarterfinals and just missed out, so they don't want to have another hard luck story, on their hands. And it'll be interesting to see, what World Rugby do. But as you say, if they can't postpone the game, and if there's too much debris on the ground and in the surrounding areas on Sunday, then it's possible that Japan will qualify for the quarterfinals based on a 0-0 draw.
Yeah, to give a bit of perspective, all flights have been cancelled into Japan on Saturday, and likely there's going to be a huge backlog of issues on Sunday. Trains shut down basically for a day and a half. In Faxai, there was basically a full day's shutdown of public transport, and that was, as we say, a smaller storm. So I think we are going to get a better picture of just how big this storm is in the next couple of days. But the World Cup will move on. The quarterfinals begin a week later down in Oita. If Australia can get the job done against Georgia, it now is locked in that England are the semi-final opponent, so a clash with Eddie Jones, which is going to be fascinating. Let's hope that another typhoon doesn't hit during the finals, Beth, because I think we haven't even looked up what happens. I think if it gets called off, it's the team that has the most points during the pool stage. So Australia will be wanting to bank
as many points as possible.
As many points as possible tonight, as in, a 5-point bonus point win. But let's wait and see what happens in the next couple of days. You'll forgive us if we don't exactly have a daily wrap coming up in the next couple of days, but we will try to give our best updates to you as often as possible.